This is the first in a series of COVID-19, the faces, people, and places. 10 people, 10 countries, 10 responses to the global pandemic. Episode 1, we are joined by Bri Murphy, who is currently finishing her higher education abroad in Ireland. Prior to, she was studying at Hofstra University in Long Island, New York, where the virus claimed over 32,000 lives thus far, nearly as many as the overall number of COVID cases in the country of Ireland. We now join with Bri. Hello, Bri.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Oh, you look fabulous. I had to sit outside just because I didn't know what kind of background I wanted for this first story, but thanks so much for joining.
No problem.
So I have a list of questions for you.
Mhm.
My first one is, you've been in Ireland for a few weeks now. My niece is here. Hi, I'm filming something. Can you go away for a second?
Yeah.
Thank you, baby. I just wanted to know, what is Ireland like right now? Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences? Maybe start with the quarantining process?
Yeah, definitely. So right now Ireland is in phase 3, which we ended up going back a phase because we want to get to phase 1 because that's like the best. It's open, everything. You can do whatever you want. It's back to normal. So right now we're in phase 3. So essentially we're kind of back to more restrictions. It's mostly just indoor restrictions. So the outdoors looks pretty normal. But so when I first got here, I had to quarantine for 14 days. It wasn't like a full-time quarantine. It was more like a restricted movement. So I was allowed to go get groceries, go to stores, go on like long walks and everything. I just couldn't go to like pubs or restaurants or anything like that. So that was a 2-week process, and I'm out of it now. So that's been good. I've been able to go to different restaurants and everything. But yeah, so we've been put back a phase, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll find out if we've moved back to phase 2.
Gotcha. I was going to say, just doing my research and trying to catch up on the Irish response to the pandemic. One of the comments I saw in a most recent article, not 2 days ago even, the Prime Minister of Education actually had said this is going to be a crucial 2 weeks. And I think you kind of highlighted that, Bri, that this is a critical time, students returning back to campuses. And we're seeing that across the world as well, with the return to campus life. Right here in my state of Michigan, of course, Michigan State University is actually a hot spot right now because of how many students have contracted the virus just in the few short weeks they've been in. So I'm curious, compared to your university experience at Hofstra, mid-pandemic, and where you are now in Ireland, how do the two compare and how do they contrast?
So like in comparison, like when the pandemic started in about March and stuff with Hofstra, we were put on like immediate lockdown. It was like, no one's coming to campus, please go home. Like, don't even think about coming back. Like we were given an extended spring break. It was like, this is not gonna be going on. We're going full online. Whereas here, even though we've gone back a phase and school hasn't even started yet, I'm actually supposed to start classes on Monday because they've pushed it back way farther than they've ever done it. Like we only have like 2 months really for this semester because they've pushed it back, hoping to reopen in person. But yeah, they've ended up deciding on a hybrid system for at least these next 2 weeks, because in the following 2 weeks, we'll find out if we're able to go fully back to school, like face to face. So we're going to be doing the hybrid system. So essentially we have smaller groups for all of our master's programs, and we'll be meeting smaller groups for seminars, and then we'll be watching online lectures, and kind of with those seminars, we'll be talking about it. So it's very different in the sense that whereas at the beginning of the pandemic, it was such a huge issue that they had to fully shut down schools. Whereas now they've like learned from their mistakes and they're trying to figure out what's the best way so our students can get face-to-face, but also be as safe as possible. So they've decided on smaller classroom sizes and a hybrid system, meeting only about once a week.
Excellent. And I think you'll agree with me here, but the response by different universities has varied. I mean, from the smallest thing to perhaps putting students in pods where they're only with certain students for their certain classes, or, the living arrangements, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to backtrack a bit. I want to hear, first off, can you tell us what university you're going to, as well as what the average day is like being at your school?
Yeah, so I go to Trinity College here in the city center of Dublin. I'm doing my master's in international peace studies. So I'm in a smaller program than what most people are doing for their master's. Like the law program here is much, much bigger. The marketing program is much bigger. But so essentially, my day today is I have 4 classes this semester, and they're only once a week. So I have about 4 days of classes and then one free day to myself. I have one professor who, unfortunately, she has really bad asthma and a son with Down syndrome. So her classes for the rest of the semester will be online, even if we do go back to phase one, just to protect her and her family. But other teachers, again, like I said, are doing the hybrid system, which is really, really great for us. We're doing the pods, like you said. But so mostly I will be at school for about an hour a day, but then my other 2 classes I do have online. So for this semester, at least I'll have about 2 hours on campus, but we're allowed to like book out space in the library, book out like cafeteria time, just so we can like be on campus and have that experience and like see people if we want to. But Trinity right now is very much trying to limit the capacity of students on campus. Like they do want to give us the time on campus, but it's like we do need to follow the government regulations and we do want to keep our students safe. So in the spring, we can just fully go back in person.
I noticed that Ireland's cases, they're at a little over, I think it was 30,000. And in comparison, I mean, that's how many lives really have been taken by the virus in the state of New
Mhm.
York, if I'm correct. Yes?
Yeah, it's
And
the numbers here are just so much smaller in comparison to just states in the states. Like it's crazy.
right. So I wanna ask this and feel free to pass on the question, but I almost am curious. I mean, if you look at the ratio per capita, how many people have contracted and died from the virus in Ireland as opposed to the US? Of course, the US is one of the larger nations, but nonetheless, our infection rates are argumentatively higher than a lot of other countries. And I'm curious to hear from you because you've been in the epicenter of the
Mhm.
COVID crisis here in the United States and also in a different country and different continent. I'm curious if you notice a leadership difference and the response rates and the overall response to the virus. How has it changed? How is it different, maybe better or worse here in the United States as opposed to Ireland in your opinion?
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. I've definitely noticed a huge contrast between the states, like even New York, California, and Ireland. When I was in New York, when everything was just like going completely horrible, there was like an immediate response, mostly from like Governor Cuomo and everything. Like it was like, we are going to go into lockdown, like stay home and everything. And I think it was really great at the beginning. And California did an okay job from what I had heard from my parents and family members there. But I've noticed in the States, I feel like it's also become less of a concern now. It's also seems like it's more of like a laid back approach now. Like they're like, oh, if cases go up, we kind of know what we're doing. Like everyone just kind of follow what regulations were there, but it doesn't seem like they're really, really regulating it as hard as they did at the beginning. Here in Ireland, like I said, we went back a phase. We were almost in phase one, but Ireland last week, they had a resurgence in cases. We had over 300 cases in the country, and over 200 of them were in Dublin alone. So we, as a city and county, Dublin, we've been put back a phase. So it's not the entire country has been put back a phase. It's just our county. So we have to stay in county. Like the government here was like, okay, cases have surged. Like we are putting restrictions. Like we're going back a phase. Do not leave the county. Like please, please, like for the next 3 weeks, just so we can, bring the cases back down. I really think they are taking a little bit more seriously here. I don't know if it's because like they've been trying so hard and they've gotten their numbers down so low, or if it's just a different mindset here. But I definitely notice a contrast between the two.
Can you share a little bit about the people, the culture of Ireland, and how they feel about the virus and the response?
Yeah, definitely. So I've traveled a lot over the years, and I've noticed that a lot of European countries are more into the sense of a collective society, whereas the US tends to be more individualistic. Like this is your life, this is your family, you know, like it's your neighborhood. You do what you want to do, like for yourself, for your well-being, for the people that you love, that you're close with. Whereas in Europe, it's a lot of times, even just looking at their healthcare system, like it's for the collective good. It's like, I will give up sacrifices and make sacrifices of my own just so the rest of the people around me can like go on and my nation can go on. So I've definitely noticed that in Ireland, and I feel like Ireland has a history of coming together as a people to overcome struggles. Like if you look at the famine, if you look at the Easter Rising and everything like that, like Ireland is a very collective society. And I don't know if it has to do with like their religion as well, being a Catholic nation, just like having those morals as their background, whereas in the States, it's such a diverse group of people that it's almost hard for people to connect and feel like they want to help others as much as they just want to help themselves. So I definitely feel like that has something to do with why the Irish people have been overcoming this so well. Like Ireland, even though we've had a spike in cases over the past like few weeks, we've had no deaths. Nobody has died. So that means it's not extreme like spreading of COVID. It's more of just like, I guess, the weaker version of COVID. I haven't done too much research on the different types of forms of COVID, but so far, thankfully, we haven't had any new deaths, but we have had some more cases. But people have definitely, even though we were very upset, like a lot of people were very upset that we went back a phase, we in Dublin know that we are the biggest city in Ireland, and that it's our responsibility as a city and as a county to make sure that the rest of our country doesn't like contract COVID as much as we have. And it's probably because more students are coming in, and it isn't like a worldwide city, like an international city. But yeah, we've definitely taken the responsibility, and people have been following the rules, and there are signs everywhere that are talking about COVID. So it's definitely more of a lifestyle here. It's like, we have COVID, it's a thing, but let's try and overcome this together. And I've definitely seen that.
This time, I mean, we'll say it and say it over and over again till we're blue in the face. It's unprecedented times, but man, the things that we can learn from it. Being a journalist myself, the stories that I have been able to share and the experience I have garnered just over this past year. And we're only 6 months into the pandemic now. I shouldn't say only 6 months, because that is a long time, as I'm sure everyone is feeling it. But nonetheless, 2020, the year of civil unrest, a pandemic, there are all different types of major world, national, statewide events happening. Nonetheless, election cycle, of course, as well. It'd be interesting to see if hindsight really is 2020, if you catch my drift. And I'm excited to see, how the rest of your time in Ireland goes. Hopefully it goes without a hitch. Maybe a luck of the Irish will help.
Yeah. I'll just go find a 4-leaf clover and
Perfect.
pray.
Maybe go kiss the Blarney Stone or
Yeah.
something. Whatever you can do.
It.
Well, Bri, I miss you so much. Thank you so much for talking with me and sharing your story with whomever is going to be viewing this. I really do appreciate it. And best of luck to you, okay?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chelsea. I missed you so much, and thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.